we made it. Sandy Beach. About 10 o'clock in the morning. Here we'll do a quick pan. And the reason they call it Sandy Beach is just right up that direction where I'm pointing the camera. There is a really nice sandy area that families tend to hang out on in the winter or in the summer. It's a safe area. There's like a little slow current back eddy where little kids can swim without having to worry about getting swept down the Deschutes. And there is a bathroom here. If you've never been here, there's a bathroom spread out along the Deschutes River, which makes it very nice to be able to have that option. All right, so right now, I'm just gonna get dressed, get my waders on. It's a little nippy this time of year, especially in the mornings. All right, and the gear I'm using, people always love to hear gear talk. You know, it is important. I think too much gets put into having the latest and greatest. You don't need it. I run cheap waders. They're Frog Togs. I think Hellbender series, you know, they're a cheap pair of waders. I've got 2 seasons out of them, so I really can't complain about durability. And the boots I'm running are just an Orvis basic wading boot. You know, it's the boots I've been having the biggest problems with. Set of Sims boots that I've only gotten about a season out of, and they're breaking down already. These Orvises that are kind of my winter boot, or my wader boot when I wear waders. They're a little bit bigger than my Sims, and my Sims I like to wear in the summer when I wet wade. And they're both got limited use, and they're really falling apart. But you know, I do fish as much as guides do, so maybe it's just I'm a heavy user, and I'm a big guy. You know, probably putting extra stress on the boots and whatnot, wading around probably doesn't help. You know, if I was a little 100-pound dude, it probably wouldn't matter. But I'm not. And the main reason for running the Frog Togs is they were actually, like I said, I'm a bigger guy, and they were the best fit waders that I had found. I was gonna bite the bullet and buy a really expensive pair of, you know, Sims or Patagucci's or something, or Grundens, or, you know, get a really nice set, and they all fit like crap. That's how they do their sizing. You know, it was always something. It didn't fit, you know, at the waist and up portion of the wader, or the boot was so tight that, you know, I could hardly get my foot out of the soft neoprene boot. So it was just always, there was always something. And these cheap old Frog Togs, they fit great. So if you're a bigger guy, I highly recommend checking out Frog Togs, just because they do fit well. I'm not saying they're a better quality wader than the Sims and Patagucci's, but, you know, I have gotten 2 years out of them. You know, I think retail these were $220, so they're on the low end for a pair of waders. But they fit, and I can move around, that's what matters. I mean, who gives a crap how much you paid for it, and if it's the upper crust wader or not. You can't move around and get around the rivers, then what's the point of having them? That's what I say. That's what I mean by people get too hung up on brands. Alright, last thing here. Pull down. Try to stay as warm as I can. Oh, broken lace. Alright. It's weird having to talk this much while I fish. I'm usually pretty quiet. Except when I talk to my dog. She's not here today. You'll see her in later episodes for sure. She's my little fishing buddy. Just she was not able to go today, so I'm doing a solo trip. I probably won't catch any fish for that reason because I left her behind. Maybe payback from the fishing gods. Get my sweatshirt on, get my Sims coat on. And a fun fact that I learned about a year ago, you know, it's like, what do? Do you wear your coat or sweatshirt under your waders or over your waders? Right? Which way is right? And I'd say they're both right, but what I learned a year ago when I was out fishing with a friend, middle of winter, it was super cold, you know, the exact time of year you don't want to fall in and get wet. And I fell in. It wasn't a very deep fall, you know, the water was only, you know, maybe 2 foot where I fell. But I had my coat over the outside of my waders. You know, people say, oh, don't wear your coat on the outside of your waders because you'll get it wet if you fall in. Yeah, that's true. It got wet. But then I stayed completely dry inside my waders. So I did have to put a different coat on. But if I hadn't had that coat over the outside of my waders, would have I kept water out from inside my waders? And I'd say no. So for that reason, I always take a spare. And I always wear my coat on the outside of my waders. But if you do fall in, you have a few seconds to get out of the water before the water gets into your wader, which that's what really matters, right? You don't want to have 30-degree water inside our waders when we're on a floating trip for, you know, for an afternoon. So I say wear your coat on the outside, or a coat on the outside. Maybe not your sweatshirt or something like that, but if you have a coat like this that's semi-waterproof or water resistant, wear it on the outside. It's a little bit of insurance. You do fall in, you have a couple seconds to scramble out before the water gets into your waders, which would save the day. If I hadn't done that, we would have had to pack up and head out because I would have been absolutely soaked with cold water. And so just having the coat on the outside saved that fishing day. So that's worth it to me. All right, and the last bit of gear talk that I'll do before we get going on the water is kind of go over my rod setup. It's a basic setup. So here we are, Matrix center pin reel by Raven. It's 4 3/8. It's one of my smaller ones that I run. This is on my trout rod, or my main trout rod. The rod itself is a Loomis float rod, medium action. It's 11 foot, light, moderate action, I should say. 4 to 8 pound, 1/16 to 3/8. It's a great rod. There you go, down there. And the float I'm running currently is a 6.2 gram Raven. There's the shot pattern. I usually go with just a standard shot pattern. It seems to work well. Run a double bead peacock nymph there. And down a little below, kind of like a Euro style big tungsten beaded nymph on the bottom there. So kind of pretty basic. Works well. It works well in a lot of different rivers. You know, when I get into small spring creeks, I'll drop to a clear float and much lighter setup. You know, go down to like a sometimes 2.8 grams. I usually try to stay in the 4 gram realm, just because it makes casting much easier, having a little more weight. The more and more weight you take off, the little more laborious casting can become to get distance. But usually on those spring creeks, the rivers are pretty small. So I mean, the rod's 11 to 12 foot is usually what I'm running. So I don't usually have to do a lot of casting, any distance. Bag I'm running is a Bubba bag. They're pretty common. It's a hip bag. You know, I've tried a lot of different bags. This is one of my favorites. Unfortunately, I think there's no perfect tackle bag. You know, they all have a give and take. This one's a little heavy. I try not to carry a huge amount of gear. You know, I've got a steelhead box, and then I've got a couple different trout boxes. Here's the other one. There it is. Carry a few more trout flies because they can be a little little more finicky than steelhead usually are. It's just a matter of finding a biter when it comes to steelhead. And then my different tippets and leaders there on a fish pond caddy. This is about the only caddy I'd recommend buying. It works really good, holds a lot of different options, has a line cutter there on the side, and it's inexpensive. It's like $20. But I like the bag. My main gripe is, I don't know why manufacturers do this. 3/4 of the bag is waterproof. Hey, it sounds great. This top section is not waterproof. So I get into pretty, deep situations or wading around where the bag is going to get wet. I mean, I think we all get into those situations. Or you slip and fall in. Well, guess what? The bozos at Bubba left the top part not waterproof. And so, yeah, everything on the side is. Woohoo! So it's a little irritating. And then my fish pliers, Gerber fish pliers, they're pretty decent. I don't like the handle ones just because the handles always seem to break down over time and start sliding off. We've all had that happen. So I go with the solid handles. Got a line cutter, a little lock that I never use. Even these, for as much as I paid for them, it's a little irritating that you have to really force the tip closed. If you're trying to pinch down a hook or something on a barb, it makes it really hard. So that's a little bit of irritation there. For a pair of pliers that were this expensive, they should be perfect, and they're not. But they still work well. I'll still keep them probably till I lose them. And then this is a Milwaukee tool lanyard. Like I said, I own a hardware store, so I love finding stuff that works well for fishing that maybe isn't technically marketed towards fishermen, which usually means the cost is less. These tool lanyards are awesome for holding on to your tools. I don't trust just putting it in there, for $80 pliers and have them get lost because this little 2-cent little Velcro flap didn't hold it in. Right there, yeah, I'm not going to trust that with my expensive fishing pliers. So I tether them up. It's got a quick little link there. Bam. And away I go. So that's what I use. I like this bag. It's not perfect. I haven't found a perfect bag. I don't think one exists. But it's pretty good. I didn't mean to bash the Bubba guys too bad, but that is one big annoyance of why make the bag waterproof at all if you're going to have a good portion of it not be waterproof. But whatever. And would a fish manufacturer please put build in like a little cooler or insulated spot? Most of us want to have like a drink or, hey, maybe a beer in your tackle bag that's not warm, not have to take a cooler with you, because in the summer having a beer down along the river while you're fishing is awesome, but I don't want to bring a cooler and I don't really want a warm beer. So it's like, come on, just a small little compartment where you can get maybe 1 or 2 12-ounce beers in there. Have it be insulated so it's cool, or your lunch, maybe you want to keep your lunch cool. It doesn't seem like that out of this world idea, and it wouldn't add a lot to manufacturing costs, I wouldn't think. And but I think you would sell a lot of bags because of it. So, well, gonna get finished rigged up, get the camera mount changed. Okay, here's a new spot, just kind of down from where I was at. Where I'm going to try to fish, as you see that, obviously that fast white water, and then just inside that, you see that slower seam. So that's what we're going to try to target. We're going to try to target that slower seam because the trout aren't going to be laying out in that fast water, right? They might be swimming through it or upriver or across it. You might get lucky and catch one there. But more often than not, they're going to be sitting in this soft water holding and getting food, because the food's going to come down and it's going to naturally hit that and then probably kick down into the slower water, or it's going to go on down into the fast stuff. One of 2 options. So if there's going to be trout feeding, they're going to be feeding right in here, and it drops off pretty good right there. I've caught a couple nice trout here in the past. Let's see if I can find another one. So it looks like I'm
running too deep here on my bait. I'm going to try to see if I can't get it a little bit further out. Right on that seam there. All right, gonna bring it back. Still not the best cast. I'm not getting that spot where I really need to put it. Let's see if I can do a forehand and get it there. Pretty good. We're tapping bottom there. See how the float's leaning? Tapping bottom. All right, no dice there. See if we can't just do one more drift. There we go. Ooh, that's pretty. Floats tapping bottom just a little bit by that tilt downriver. All right, now we're really hitting bottom. Time to bring it in. All right, not going to spend all day here. Oh, maybe that was it. Oh, yeah, this does happen from time to time. When the bottom fly decided to catch hold of my float. That's usually my fault. I'm getting too whippy with my casting. When casting these, you really got to be big motions. You know, I came from fishing a lot of lures and spinners and spoons and crankbaits and all that kind of stuff, and that's a lot of like you do a lot of flicking with the rod tip, you know, to flick it out there. And with these long float rods, and you've got as much going on as you do, you want to stay very smooth and fluid with your casts. You don't want to do a lot of the flicking like you do with a spinner or a spoon. Because if you do, you're gonna get snarled up, just like what I did. So, all right, and if you can see it, you can see that the ledge is right there. Kind of this whole morning, we're gonna fish these different ledges. So we're not gonna be hardly fishing that far off the bank the whole time we're here. You know, it's looking for fish that are hiding just underneath these ledges, getting out of the current, because lots of times they're undercut. We can't see it, but they are. It's a little too far out. All right, move on down. We're just gonna keep on moving. And right there you can see these ledges I'm talking about. I'm gonna try to stay back as much as I can. Let's get out right out there, right on that outside of that ledge. And with the sun to our back, we really have to be mindful of our shadow. It sounds nitpicky, but it does make a difference. A little further out on this one. My main goal is the outside of that rock downriver there. All right, no dice. Gonna fish through this pretty fast. Like I said, we'd be wasting their time if we were gonna try to get to the bottom here. There's just too much current, too much water, it's too deep. I mean, you could, maybe, I don't know, but you'd have to have a ton of weight on your line. All right, I'm gonna position right in there, get that going. Nope. One of those dropping floats is gonna be a fish. It's either bottom or it's a fish. If it looks fishy, do a quick hook set. You know, a little trout, you don't need to do a big monstrous hook set. I always get a kick out of some people when I see them and they do these huge exaggerated hook sets for, you know, little crappie fish or little spring creek fish. It's just a little flick, you know. That was too much. If you're bringing your rig out of the water, then you're setting too much. All right, here's a little back eddy here. Go right off the ledge there. If you can see it on camera, I don't know if you can or not. And I kind of messed up, to be honest. Forgot my polarized glasses at the house, and I didn't realize that I forgot them until I got to the river. And so I'm fishing without my polarized, which makes it a little more of a challenge, seeing structure and whatnot, but we'll make do. Fishermen used to fish without polarized back, you know, however many years ago that they were invented. You don't have to have them. It does make it a lot easier for seeing structure and whatnot. Bottom. All right, sneak on down. All right, that's... Oh, I thought that was a fish for a second. I think it was just bottom. Go a little further here. It might be hard to tell what I'm doing, but just about 5 feet from where I'm standing is a big drop off. So all I'm doing is I'm just walking down the river and I'm fishing that ledge. You know, so my casts aren't terribly far. You know, I'm just hoping there's some fish, you know, kind of hanging out next to that ledge, being lazy in that slower water, you know, waiting for its next meal to come by. And we can get a a drop and float. That's bottom. I'm gonna move through this a little bit, a little quicker. The wading here isn't too terribly difficult. All right, I've moved on down from where I was. I thought this would be important to go over. So, like I said, the Deschutes is a very rugged river to fish. A lot of your banks will be like this. They're pretty rugged. You got to take your time. And I have to really strongly advise that when you get into this kind of terrain, this is like snake heaven. So really be mindful of where you're stepping. You know, mid to late October, you should be out of that, but it's been a fairly warm October still. Like just a couple days ago, it was 80 degrees. So the snakes could still be out. But really the only way you're gonna get one to bite you is if you step on it. Or if you come across one, they're really aggressive when they're I think it's called molting, or when they're shedding their old skin and growing a new skin. And the reason they're aggressive in that time is lots of times they're blind and they can't see because of the dead skin over their eyes. So if you were a snake and you couldn't see, you'd probably be kind of aggressive too. But here we go. This was the water I was trying to get down to. It's a little slower, a little less turbulent. See if I can't get a fish right in here. All right. Drop my gear. It's still very deep here. You know, all the Deschutes, you know, gets bottlenecked down, even gets narrower down a little lower here. So all of the Deschutes gets bottlenecked into a river. It's like, I don't know, 12 foot in diameter, 8 foot, I don't know. Pretty darn narrow. If that's a measurement. It's a pretty darn narrow measurement. I'd like to get my float, the current to take. Oh, had a fish on for a second. Should have been paying attention and not walking around. About time. See if we can't get another one here. There we go. Oh. It's like a nice rainbow, maybe? It was a long ways away when I hooked him. Oh, perfect spot to land him. Perfect. Okay, clicker on. It's not a drag, it's a clicker to keep it from spooling, and you should not use it as a drag. Oh, he's not quite ready to come in yet. Oh, might lose him. This line's gets slack on me. Oh, beautiful fish. Beautiful fish. Little trick. Get a hold of the trout, hold it upside down. It kind of turns them in, makes them lax. But here we go. Oh. I know. Beautiful fish. Yeah, let's turn him loose. Woo! Beautiful fish. Took a little while today, but I knew we would find one. Beautiful rainbow. Beautiful rainbow. and about exactly where I said they were going to be. Right down here in this big eddy, this big slow spot. Awesome. Well, that's a lot harder than I thought, catching a fish on video. You know, it's like the fish know. As soon as you put the camera on your head, they're like, oh, let's make this guy look like a chump. Let's go just a smidgen deeper. Bring that down. So all we're going to do is do a quick little float adjustment here. You always want to have shot at the base of your float, weight your float. They make some gimmicky things that like attach to the bottom of the float, but you know, fishermen and fisherman gimmicks. You just need some shot, do a shot pattern. It allows for quick, easy depth changes. And change floats if you need to. If you get into some really turbulent stuff, you got to go to a heavier float. You can have a heavier float in a matter of a moment, you know, and wait. In a few moments, you're back fishing without having to re-rig your whole thing. Well, it took us a while, but we're finally on the board. On the board this morning. I'll be grateful for that. A lively rainbow. He was lively. Right on that phone. I can't believe I've been fishing this whole time like that. That is embarrassing. Well, that probably explains why the fishing has been slow. Alright, let's get some shot on. When we talk shot, I do like shot that does not have the little ears on it. It's just a preference thing. In my mind, I think those little ears could be causing the line to twist around, catch currents. Maybe it's just a mental thing on my part. So it's pretty easy enough to avoid shot that doesn't have ears. I just buy the earless ones. Yeah, it's not reusable, but shot's pretty cheap. It's kind of a consumable. You're gonna go through it regardless. So you might as well get the shot that you like. And how many times can you really reuse eared shot? Once. And then the ears all break down, get all weird, and you can't there we go. Cannot believe my way I had that shot. I did re-rig this last night because I got it all tangled up yesterday, and I must not have been paying attention. Let's go a little further. And that probably explains why the fishing has been a little slow this morning. My presentation was all jacked. So when you first get into center pin or float fishing with shot, it's really important not to crimp the shot on like a like Hercules or something. Because you want to be able to freely move it without damaging your line. You can't do that if you crimp it on and really squish it on, then you can't move it, and that defeats the whole purpose of using it. All right, float's looking much better. I can already tell. So like I said, that float is just so important. It's feedback. It's your analog smartphone of telling you what's wrong with your presentation, with your float. It's looking much better. Heavy current there pushing it to the side, but it's floating right. It's riding at the right height. Just these upwells, you know, are tough. Let's bring it on down through here. Get that slack off the water. Another thing, when you're holding your rod and you're float fishing, you want to keep it down low like this. You don't want to get into holding it way up high above your shoulder or above your head, trying to keep the line off the water. In most cases, you can keep the line off the water by just reeling in, holding the rod tit up, making minor adjustments. But the reason you don't want that rod to be way up in the air is you want to have somewhere to go with your rod when you do a hook set. If the rod's already way up above your head, where are you going to go with the rod? You know, and then it makes reeling so much more complicated. All right, nothing's going there. What I'm going to try to do is, you can see that current going out and then have it kick and come back around. I'm going to cast out that way, see if I can't ride the current with my float and then swing it around in front and bring it back to me. Ride the current. Keep going, keep going, keep going. I mean, I am holding my rod up high right now, but I'm trying. This isn't where I'm fishing. I'm kind of like setting up my spot. I'm letting that float get way down from me. And then I'm gonna stop, let line out, and I'm trying to get the current to swing it around back to me. Okay, just like that. Reel, 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 reel. Keep that slack off the water. Oh, must have been bottom. Thought it was a fish. Keep that line off the water. Reel in the slack. You don't want to pull the float. Fish. Woohoo! Oh, another beautiful red band, or a rainbow rather. No, that's a red band. Beautiful fish. Don't want to pull them in too aggressively here, but I do want to get them off the line as quick as possible. The less stress to the fish, the better for the fish. Oh yeah, ate the same pink bead. I can play him pretty hard here. I've got 7-pound tippet on. Oh, he's getting pissed. So he did not like coming shallow. So sometimes that happens if you work out deep, where you don't have to bring him in as shallow. Oh, he's pissed, head shaking. All right, dude. All right. You don't. Give it some side pressure here. Try to swinging him around to me. No. Oh, that's a nice fish. Hopefully I can get him on camera for you guys. Beautiful fish. Fish of the day. Same pink bead. Gonna hold them upside down, it calms them down. I'll get a quick photo here. Beautiful fish. Yes. Back you go. Oh, rod's almost floated away. All right. That fucking makes the morning right there. Whoops. Drop the F-bomb. That's probably not allowed. All right. Well, I'll go up and I'll explain kind of what I did and why I think I hooked up. So cast it out, used the current to get it down. Got to swing around this little back current, back eddy, whatever you want to call it. And obviously by looking at that water, you can tell there's structure there by the ripples and the breaks in the water. So when that was coming back towards me, I imagine he was sitting facing that direction feeding. Because it's a nice, easy spot where he doesn't have to expend a lot of energy. There's structure there. Trout feels safe, right? There's no sun on the water today, which is good for fishing in most cases. And so he was sitting there hanging out, feeding this little pink bead again. Came trotting by and he said, hey, that looks good. And he bit it and fish on. Beautiful fish. It was barbless. It did little to no stress, landed quickly. I couldn't ask for a better situation. That's how we want it to always go. So very excited about that. And I think I lost a piece of shot. So I'll pause it real quick. Don't want to waste battery, and see if we can't get another one. GoPro, here we go. Just got another one on. Doing the exact same thing. I was working the back current back towards me. Little guy this time, very acrobatic. He's made 2 jumps already. Very feisty. All right, he's coming in. A little bigger than I thought, actually. See if I can't get him landed again. Doing some head shakes. Get some side pressure. Let's bring him in. Hopefully get him on camera. Oh, and he came off. But oh well. You saw him. That's the best auto release you can do. And he snagged me up, of course, as a thank you for hooking me. I'm gonna tangle up your line. But you know what? Okay, I'll take that. So far, all the action has been on that pink beaded little guy. And I'm gonna get this unsnaggled and I'll see you in a bit. All right, just got back to the truck. It was a good morning of fishing. Gonna head back, have a little work to do at the store. Like I said, I own a hardware store in Maupin. Quick recap, kind of where we fished, what we used. So if you decide you want to come out to Maupin, you can maybe give this spot a shot. We fished, I parked at Sandy Beach boat ramp. It's pretty easy to find. It's on Google Earth, Google Maps if you need to, Google where it's at. I parked at the parking, worked my way downstream, fishing ledges and the small little micro eddies. Ended up catching, I think, 3 or 4 rainbows, one very nice red band. If you look at the video, remember it was 3 or it was 4. But not too bad for a couple hours of fishing. Started out slow. The 2 nymphs I didn't really change. That was probably a bad on me. I probably should have changed at least once. They were keen on size 16, pink bead, caddis pupa, I believe. And they did not go after the peacock stone at all. But I always like to run a big fly with a small fly because you never know what mood they're in. On the Deschutes, it's more often than not, it's the smaller fly. Probably could have gone even smaller and been a little more successful, but the ones I caught were nice fish, so I'm happy. And now we're gonna head back towards Mountain. You know, like I said, this is a new channel, so the likes and subscribes are very important. So if you can throw us a like and a subscribe, that'd be great. As we get the word out that we're doing this, we're trying to be as informative as we can. Not trying to be like the secretive fisherman, full transparency of where I go, how I fish, what I use. Trying a different mount on my dash, and it's definitely not working. So yeah, I believe in full transparency. So we all want to catch fish. This is supposed to be educational to help you catch fish. If you have tips for me, you know, obviously let me know. I'm always looking for better ways or easier ways of doing things. That's definitely part of being a fisherman. You can also check video description. I'm going to put a link to a lot of the floats, the kind of rod, the gear, supplies, all that kind of stuff. I have an eBay store, so I'll have the links in there if you want to find where you can get these floats. They're honestly, you're not going to find them in too many shops on the West Coast, if any. I have one of the only wholesale accounts on the West Coast, and that can be center pin reels, float rods, the different Raven floats, balsa floats, and Drennan. That's another popular float. You'll definitely see me use Drennan floats on smaller clear creeks, the clear floats. Because believe it or not, that makes an absolute difference. That big old black float is in the water when you're on these super small, crystal clear spring creeks that are in Oregon. So you'll definitely see me use those on the Deschutes. It doesn't really matter. It always kind of has that green. And then the small little clear floats are really hard to see on the Deschutes. I've tried to use them, and the current's really just too much for them, because the heaviest Drennan clear float that is a 4.8 gram. Which in the fly fishing world, that's really heavy, but in the gear fishing world, that's nothing. So it makes it difficult to use in the Deschutes. So that's when I opt out to a fast, medium depth float. I think they go all the way up to 7 or 8 grams. The two I most consistently use are the 6.2 fast medium and the 5 gram fast medium Raven balsa float. I have them on my eBay store. I'll have links to the main page, and you can sift through all the different things that I have on there. There's a lot of different tackle jigs, floats, terminal tackle like swivels, real small, tiny micro swivels that are hard to find at a lot of tackle shops in the Northwest. But yeah, so drop me a link and a subscribe, and we'll catch you around on the next trip, either on the Deschutes or another Oregon river.